Hi everyone, Mr. Bristow here and welcome to Ezra update number 3. Hope you've had a good week. I know it's been a little bit more difficult because of all the rain around, however I hope this video finds you safe and well. Before we get started with showing all the things that you've been doing this week, I've got a special message from a celebrity guest. Hello Ezra class, how are you all doing in the lockdown? I hope you and your families are fine. These are unusual times indeed, aren't they, with all sorts of emotions mixed in. I thought I'd write to you to tell you how I've been spending my time during quarantine. Ordinarily, I'd be travelling around the UK, going into schools, giving talks and running creative writing workshops. I'm missing it a lot. I really love the visits and it's been hard to give them up. What's the hardest thing you've had to give up? I have 2 daughters. Sometimes they are with me and sometimes they're with their dad. On the days when I'm by myself, it can get super lonely, and I really miss not being able to meet up with friends for a chat. I know we can talk online, but sometimes it doesn't feel enough. Our old life and things that we took for granted a few weeks ago, they can seem like a world away, can't they? Of course, I feel really lucky to be a writer, because I've been able to keep on top of my stories and books. In fact, I've used some of my experiences with the crisis and things I've felt in my writing. I hear from Mr. Bristow that you're reading my novel, The Jaguar Trials at School. That's wonderful to hear and I hope you enjoyed it. Thinking about the Jaguar Trials got me thinking about my stories and story writing in general. How, as writers, we can deliberately throw our characters into difficult situations and give them things to face that can seem impossible. You know from the book that the main character Ben quickly gets faced with a really difficult situation, and even if he could have got the signal in the middle of the jungle, you know that his mobile phone flew overboard and sunk into the murky depths of the Amazon River early in chapter 2. Double disaster. Like all characters, Ben has his bad days. He has his good days. But what would he do without Yara and Raphael? Come to think of it, friendship, as well as family and hope, are always key elements of my stories, and I think our life stories as well. We know that there are lots of special moments to come, being able to see family and friends again, being able to give them a hug. We know these things will be possible again one day. Maybe that moment is quite a while off, but we know that when this crisis comes to an end, it will be fine. I find it really helps me to think about the first special things I will do when quarantine finishes. For me, it's been stories that have helped me through. I've done lots of reading. I've been able to escape into a world where inside the pages I make friends with characters. I've done lots of writing and used my experiences and feelings to help bring those stories to life. We know that the stories are powerful and we are all storytellers. Maybe you've already done some writing based on your experiences and things that you've done during the last few weeks. Maybe you've kept a diary or written about something that happened to you or your family. If you wanted, maybe you could share your stories of being in quarantine with Mr. Bristow. Your stories might be humorous or they might be sad, or they might be able to mix all of those emotions in somehow. If you felt like it, maybe you'd like to ask Mr. Bristow to pass your stories on to me to read, and I can write to you about them. Or you can keep your story just for yourself. Either way, this time, as we know it, will be over soon, and we'll look back on this unusual time and think what we might have learned from the situation, about the world and ourselves. Lots of love. Ruth. Lovely of Ruth Easton to give up some of her time to be able to write to you guys. Hopefully you'll take on board her challenge and maybe write me or her a letter to tell us what you've been doing. Now, it's time to find out what you guys have been doing at home for the last week. I first of all heard from Antec, and Antec has been continuing all the active stuff that he was doing from last week, and he's been playing volleyball with his dad in the garden, and here's a clip of that. Certainly reminds me of when my brothers and I were younger and we used to play tennis in the garden and see who could get the longest rally. I think you'll agree that it looked really quite intense between Antek and his dad there. The next person I heard from was Dylan, and Dylan has made an intruder alarm that he got for Christmas. So I'm not going to take away any of the credit. I'll let him explain everything to you.
Hello Ezra class, I have been recently making an intruder alarm. What happens is the wires connect round the circuit to a buzzer that makes a noise like this. But to make it into a proper intruder alarm, I put a little bit of plastic in there to break the connection between two plates of metal, and so when I turn it on, it doesn't make a sound. But when somebody walks into the room, I'd stretch it across the door, so when somebody walks in, it pulls the piece of plastic out, connects the wires, and tells me that they're here.
I think you'll agree that's really, really cool. Some great science there. Next I heard from Louise, and Louise has been doing lots and lots of baking, and really nice to see as well in the photos and video here that she's been getting into her school uniform to really remember and work hard, which is great to see.
This is yummy, Mr. Bristow.
Next I heard from Mia, and Mia, in amongst all her work, has been doing some gardening this week. Not the greatest weather in the world, but hopefully it's meant to get a bit nicer next week, so you can go and get out and do some more planting and weeding, which will be great for you. The next person I heard from was Sophia, and Sophia has been writing this week to all of the people in her family just to check that they're all right, which is really lovely. And you can see here she's been practicing some times tables. Times table rock stars time now, and not great news, I'm afraid. In the class battles, as you can see, we lost to both other classes. Barlow showing a really, really strong fight back this week to win overall, and we still lost to Sunday. In terms of boys versus girls, as you can see, gents, we have got a lot of work to do. The girls absolutely smashed it this week. It's not just a couple of hundred, there's a lot of thousand in between. So it's nice to see in terms of our class, we had Mia, Olivia and Sophia coming in the top 3. So let's keep it up and see if we can climb those rankings next week. Okay, time to look through some of the wonderful work that you've sent in this week to me. To start the week, I had a few trials of Hercules from the previous week. I had one from Antek, one from Max, and one from Olivia. Well done to the 3 of you for getting those in. They were really, really enjoyable to read. Bit of advice to all of you, really. When you're writing, do not forget description. I've got lots of action, I've got lots of dialogue, but I'm missing out on the description. I don't really know what things look like. Next, I heard from Seth, and Seth has completed his PowerPoint presentation on a scientist of his choice. And here are a few of his slides. Next, I heard from some children who completed their Greek pot design, which hopefully we'll be able to, when we get back to school, actually make from these designs, which would be really, really good. So here is a design from Arran, a design I received from Mia, and a design I received from Max. I've also had children who have just been super busy and sending me lots of pictures of all the different things that they've been doing. So here's an update from Lena working hard. Some of the things that Sophia's been up to. There's lots of workbooks there. Some things that Verity's been up to, including some French. and some things that Arran has been doing, including the Greek history timeline, which is really lovely to see. So the big task for last week was a piece of writing based on the game, something similar to Jumanji or Zathura. And it's great to see some of you have submitted some writing for me to read based on that as well. So I had one from Louise, which is here. I had one from Verity. And one that I'm going to share with you now with the picture of his game on the screen from Max. Jungle Mayhem. It was wet playtime again, and all the children had to play games in the classroom. Billy was trying to find something to do when suddenly he remembered the game he'd seen last week that was on top of the cupboard. He gathered his friends, Jeff, Mike and Sean, and he asked them if they fancied playing it with him. They were up for it, so they went over to the cupboard and got it down. When they finally opened the box, they couldn't find the rules of the game, and all the counters were missing. So Jeff had an idea, and they went and made some of the counters and a dice. Then they started to play the game. Billy went first and rolled a 6. He moved 6 spaces. All the boys looked out at the game, wondering what the squiggle meant that he had landed on. Jeff was about to roll the dice when all of a sudden a giant snake flew out of the board. The snake looked around and then turned and stared at Billy. The snake's eyes started going different colours. He was hypnotising Billy. Jeff saw what he was trying to do, so he jumped on the snake to try to stop it. But instead of pushing the snake out of the way, Jeff could feel the game sucking the snake in. Billy and his friends were pulled into the game too. When they were inside the game, the snake slithered away from them. Out of nowhere, a rhino came charging from behind them and pushed them all over. As they were sat, dazed on the floor, a jungle explorer came along in a car and drifted in front of them. Billy asked him who he was and what he was doing inside of the game. The man explained that they picked up a magical game, Jungle Mayhem, and they had to finish the game by getting through the jungle. He explained the game had chosen them to play. They must work together as a team to conquer the challenges along the way. A really great job by a lot of children this week. Well done. Now, I still want to hear from more of you. I'm not going to do another magic trick on this channel until a week where I've heard from 16 out of the 32. So half of you. I know you're out there because I can see you on Purple Mash and I can see you on Times Table Rockstars. So anything you do, whether it's just going for a walk and you take a picture or actually some of the work, I'd like to see it. Send it to Ezra at stokeparkjunior.co.uk. Don't forget to go and check out the Year 5 home learning video for this week. There's a special guest on that as well. Finally, to finish, Arran has sent in that Marwell Zoo have got loads of live webcams for their penguins and some other animals, and he's encouraged us all to go and watch them. So I'll drop the link to that in the description below. Stay safe, hope to hear from more of you next week, and I'll see you on the next update.